Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Balanced Vibes podcast. This is your host, Kirsten, and thank you so much, as always, for being here with me. If you listened to last podcast episode, it was all about strength training and why women should strength train. And today we're going to talk about kind of on a similar topic, but we're getting more into the details of what it takes to build muscle, because you already know that building muscle is really a good idea. It keeps you healthy, it gives you the shape that you want, it keeps your metabolic rate high and all that. And we're going to talk about more specifically about calories. How much does it actually take for you to build muscle? And we're not necessarily going to talk about workouts here in this podcast. You already probably know that weightlifting is really the way to go about it, actual traditional strength training. But yes, like I said, in this podcast, we're going to talk a little bit more about the calories and what is the right amount for you if you have a muscle building goal. So the first thing I want to say is that, of course, there's no one universal number that works for everybody. It's not like you have to eat 2,000 calories in order to put on muscle mass or a decent amount of muscle mass, or the number for everybody is 1,800, whatever it is. If somebody ever tells you that there's one number like this that works for everybody, whether it is for the fat loss and weight loss or muscle gain, they are just not telling you the truth, because it's never just one number that's true for everyone. And there are many factors that kind of determine what your number should be. For example, your weight and your height and your activity level. And one of the things that I always, absolutely always ask all of my new clients is, what is their dieting history like? Because if they have been doing a lot of dieting, if they have been cutting their calories drastically, they need to take a different approach. Their needs are different when we compare to somebody who hasn't done that and has already been healthy and has been eating well and hasn't done anything super dramatic. So this is very important thing to understand for me, and this is why I'm also saying that, in my opinion, online calculators are not the best tools, because they don't ask you questions like this. How was your dieting history? How many diets have you done in the past couple of years? These are all the things that I always ask, because I want to understand your metabolic health too. And of course, there's also genetic component when we're talking about how much food do you need in order to put on some muscle mass. Also, want to definitely mention that there's nothing scary about putting on muscle mass, and there are still women who think that when they start lifting weights and eating more, that they will turn into a man or get super buff and super muscular. It's not going to happen. And once you get started with putting on more muscle, you actually realize that I actually would like to see faster results, because it's not going to be that quick. It's definitely nothing to be worried about. I've heard sometimes people say that when they do a set of squats that they just get really bulky overnight, and it's not true. It's not happening. I think what's probably happening in this case is that there's this temporarily increased blood flow into your quads, and you probably just see them thicker, and you think that it just made you really buff and bulky, but this definitely is not the case. So don't be worried about it. Just recently, I saw a funny meme somewhere on social media that said something like, a woman started lifting weights and overnight put on 50 pounds and turned into a bodybuilder, sent help, something like that. It was really funny, because obviously this is not possible. When you pick up a weight, you're not going to put on 1,000,000 pounds of muscle. It's just not how it works. So building muscle is healthy for every single woman. Now let's talk about how much do you actually have to eat in order to get that. Now, when we talk about body composition change, then typically we can talk about three different changes. The first is fat loss and weight loss, right? And for that, we need calorie deficit. And then on the opposite side of it is not fat, but muscle gain and weight gain. And also you may gain a little bit of body fat. And this is known as the bulk, right? So these are the opposite ends of the spectrum. We have the deficit, where you're cutting your calories, where the goal is to lose weight and lose fat. And then on the opposite end, we have the bulk or calorie surplus. And the goal with that is to gain muscle mass, gain mass. And there's going to be a tiny bit of body fat gain usually as well. And in the middle, in between, there's maintenance, where your body pretty much doesn't change as far as your weight. You may have a great body composition change if you're doing things right, and we're going to talk about it in a second. But basically, your weight doesn't change a lot. You are eating what's called at maintenance. So now it's important to understand that if we have a muscle building goal, we cannot do it effectively if we are in this deficit phase. If your goal right now is to lose weight and lose body fat, then you generally don't put on a lot of muscle. Sometimes people who are completely new to exercise, they can accomplish that. They can increase their muscle mass, and then if they do it in a really smart way, lose body fat. But generally speaking, it's very hard to do, because muscle, in order to grow, in order for you to get stronger and get more of this like visible muscle, you have to eat more. And in deficit, this is just not what's going to happen. When you think about it, you need building material. And when you don't give your body enough building material, how could you then put on muscle? Now, on the opposite side of it, which we said is the bulk or calorie surplus, this is the best way to increase your muscle mass, because now you start eating more, and then you also train well. Your training is organized and it's structured and it's very intentional, and this is the best way to put on muscle. And then we have that in between option, which is maintenance. And you can definitely gain a little bit of muscle there as well, but because your calories are your intake and expenditure are similar, then you don't gain a lot of muscle mass, because you just don't eat a lot more than you did before. So the best way to increase your muscle mass, if you are serious about it, is to go on a calorie surplus, or what's also known as bulk. So what does it actually take you? How many calories are we talking about? What do you need? So it's very helpful that you figure out two things first. First, you want to figure out your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, right? So this is the number of calories, and we've talked about it before, that your body burns no matter what. Even if you don't move all day, it still burns a certain number of calories because it wants to keep you alive. And this is a great thing, isn't it? So let's say that your basal metabolic rate, which you, by the way, can easily calculate online, let's say that basal metabolic rate, and I'm going to use just really simple numbers, is 1,500 calories, okay? So this is what your body needs in order to keep you breathing and your heart pumping and you're sweating and you're digesting and all these functions going on in the body. Now, once you know that, then you have to figure out how much do you use, how many calories roughly you burn through exercise and movement that you're doing every day. And let's say that this says 500 calories. Now we know what is your total daily energy expenditure, and that is 2,000 calories. BMR, basal metabolic rate, 1,500, plus then the activities and workouts that you're doing, which is additional 500. So now your total daily energy expenditure is about 2,000 calories. Okay, let's assume that this is the case. Like I said, I'm using really simple numbers here. Now, if you have a muscle building goal, then you want to do higher calories than that. You want to eat more than that so that you can have more building material. Like I said, at maintenance, which would be 2,000 calories for you, it is possible to build muscle. You definitely have to have high protein. This is important. You have to have really good workouts. You can build a little bit of muscle. But if you are really serious about it, then you should go on a calorie surplus, or also known as bulk. So you are going to add about 10 to 20% to your total daily energy expenditure. So 10%, if we're talking about 2,000 calories, is 200 calories. Now you're going to increase your calorie intake by 200. That's going to be 2,200 calories. And this is a good place for you to now start really working on putting on that muscle. Of course, like I always say, good workouts are required for that. If you just start eating more and then you don't work out, you are going to gain body fat, but this wasn't the goal. The goal was to gain muscle mass. And you can also go a little bit more aggressively about it. You can go 20%, which would be 400 calories, so 2,400 calories. You're going to get, of course, more results. You will probably gain slightly, maybe a little bit of body fat. But if you're doing it in the right way, which is by increasing your calories gradually, I always talk about that too, then the body fat gain, if at all, it will be very minimal. And you do your workouts well, you're using progressive overload. Every now and then you're adding weights to your barbell or picking up heavier dumbbells or whatever the workout tools that you're using. You may also just do more reps if you, let's say that you're at home and you don't have heavy weights. So there are ways to do progressive overloads, but of course the simplest way is to increase weight. So now when you're eating 2,400 calories, you have so much building material, so much more than you had before when you were eating 2,000. And now you're able to put on more muscle mass and do it gradually. If you were eating 2,000, then don't start 2,400 tomorrow, because that will be a little bit too fast and you will gain more body fat. So ideally, you go about it this way. You're going to increase your calorie intake by 100 or so, maybe 50 or 100 every single week until you get to your bulk calories, which I said is 10 to 20% over your maintenance level. And then your workouts have to be on point. Another thing that has to be on point is your NEAT activity, non-exercise associated thermogenesis, which is basically just moving and burning energy through that. So this has to be on point too. Aim for about 10,000 steps a day. This is my general recommendation, and keep your strength workouts really solid and good, and you're going to see great muscle gains. And I would really like to see more women do it, and luckily I have seen more women do it, and there's less fear around it. People see that this is actually really beneficial, so especially somebody who has been cutting all the time or dieting all the time and sort of has never thought that there is even another option, because women don't bulk, right? It's only guys who do that. It doesn't have to be this way at all. And I have several great examples of people who have done this and gotten really, really great results. For example, one lady, and I don't remember if I mentioned her in the past episode too, but she was, yes, I think I did. She was eating 1550, so 1550 calories, and then now she's eating 2,400 calories, and she has gained so much muscle mass. And it's so funny. She has told me twice that two people have told her that, oh my God, you look skinny. You lost weight. And she's like, I'm not skinny. I just gained weight and I gained muscle mass. So she gained muscle mass. And she literally, I'm not kidding you, she went from 1,550 calories to 2,400, and she looks really lean and really fit, and she looks amazing. And people use the word skinny because this is just what we use, but she's not skinny. Skinny is somebody who doesn't have any muscle definition. It's just kind of like a small person without any definition. This is definitely not her. She has good muscle tone, so she's really lean and really fit and really muscular, I would say, in the best sense possible. And this is really awesome, and it's so interesting to both of us when we hear, or when she hears from other people that, oh my goodness, you have lost weight. And she's like, no, actually, I have not lost weight. I have been eating more, and my training has really been on point, and this is why she looks so good. And also, it doesn't only matter what she looks like, also her health is really good. And this is definitely important for somebody who has been dieting a lot or being like low calorie for a long time, and maybe has created some hormonal issues because of that. It is a really good idea to go on a calorie surplus for a little while and see what you can accomplish. And you might be really surprised, because you're going to likely look better, and you're also going to feel better. You're maybe even start sleeping better. If you've had any issues with like hair loss, that will get better. There's so many benefits to actually eating a high number of calories. And you don't, by the way, have to stay there. You don't have to like eat this much all the time. You can later go back to maintenance, no problem there. Nobody says that you have to be in a calorie surplus or bulk for a long time or like forever. You don't have to do that. You can bring yourself back to maintenance if you feel like, this was maybe too much food. I wasn't hungry for this much food, so I think I'm going to go back. But see what it feels like and see what it looks like. And I think you're going to be pretty surprised in the most positive way by what you can accomplish when you go on a little bit of a calorie surplus for a little bit. But it is important. I want you to definitely know that you have to train in the right way. You cannot do it by just like skipping workouts or trying to do it, but then not doing it. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to be consistent with your training, because remember, if the goal is to build muscle, then that doesn't come only from eating. You definitely have to challenge your body with resistance training as well. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope it gave you an answer how you can figure out how many calories you should be eating to build muscle. And as a general rule of thumb, figure out your BMR, then think how much are you burning through your everyday activities, add that to your BMR. And then if you want to go on the bulk, want to build a little bit more muscle, then 10 to 20% of what you got, add that, and then eat more, and then train with purpose and see what you can accomplish. So if you give it a try, let me know. I'm super happy to kind of cheer you on and see what you can accomplish. If you have any questions about it, also let me know. You can reach out to me anywhere. You can do it in YouTube comments, on my blog. You can email me, or of course, you can also DM me on Instagram or comment any of the posts that I'm sharing there. Thanks so much for being here today with me, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.